Hello, 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 and welcome to Exhale with Regina. I have three wonderful, outstanding guests with a boatload of experience. And I want you to know that these three distinguished guests are doing great things in the earth. And they really caught my attention. So I just want to share a little bit about each one. I would like to first share about Dr. Jonas Gasson. Dr. Jonas and I both presented, I should say, with Black Speakers Network, and I was so blown away by his ability to speak. He likes to be known as Jonas with the bonus. And the reason being, we found out because bonuses, always giving that extra, always going that extra mile, always giving that extra bonus for us. And so, what I really have enjoyed learning about him is that he is so supportive in women on women's platforms. He speaks internationally to women. I have had the opportunity to watch him speak on the platform for Cheryl Wood, which I also spoke on another platform. He has co-authored three books. One's called You Matter. The other one is You Are Enough and I Am a Victor, as well as he is an author of his own book. And I love this title. And it's called How to Fly Like an Eagle with Wings Like a Wimp. I love that. And the reason, Dr. Jonas, that really sticks with me is because when my daughter was growing up, she used to read those little books about this girl who wrote a lot of books about the wimp. And so it was really encouraging to see, here we go, when you have wings like a wimp. So I just want to welcome you to the show, Dr. Jonas. And before, what I failed to do is really share what Exhale with Regina is all about. Exhale with Regina was really developed as really the way I wanted to be known, like you, Dr. Jonas, in helping women to exhale, to move from pain to purpose. But today, Exhale with Regina has expanded to a video podcast. And I'm so excited because the whole purpose is to help women to see themselves. And the way we help each other to see one another is how we get involved in the lives of other women. And I invited all of you, of course, can't say all women, but for us to have that impact on women, helping women to see themselves. And it also helps us to see ourselves. When we help others, we also help ourselves, right? So that's the whole purpose of this video podcast, to talk about the challenges and adversities that women go through, to really be authentic about our conversations and to have fun. So that's what this purpose is all about today. Also, I wanted to introduce Donna V. Warner, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Donna, the way we met is that she attended one of the video podcasts, Exhale with Regina, and come to find out she was close friends with a mutual friend, Dr. Sherry Henderson. And it was so wonderful just to watch Donna interact on our first segment, and for some reason we connected, and then we had a conversation and we were hooked. And so I had the opportunity to the show. She has an organization called Dorcas Destiny International. It's a 501c3, and I'm excited for Donna to tell us more about it. And then, of course, I have to say that I have one of my mentors, Tanya McNeil Weary. Tanya and I signed up for MAFI, which is Michigan Association Female Entrepreneurs, and I signed up to become a member of MAFI. And from there, we developed a relationship. And now I just call Tanya my mentor, along with Dr. Sherry Henderson. So Tanya is a multi award winning entrepreneur. And that's really true, because since I have been with Matthew, is one award after another, one award after another. And so I can say that she is truly impacting the lives of women. And I'm going to allow her to tell you more. But all three of my guests they all have an international connection. So I'm going to let them tell you more about who they are. And Tanya, since I made you last, I'll start off with you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Regina. Thank you for having me on such a wonderful platform. So yes, as you mentioned, my name is Tanya McNeil Weary. I am the founder and managing director of IBS Global Consulting, which is a global management consulting firm that specializes in helping primarily small businesses expand into new markets all around the world. But that is not where my journey started. I'm originally from Chicago, born and raised. And so I moved here to Detroit back in 2001. And so I'm a Detroiter now. I'm a Michigander. And so when my journey began, it was really at that moment when I moved to Detroit and I was new to the city. I did not know anyone. I didn't have a network, but here I am starting a new business in a new city and not knowing anyone, but one person who was my fiance at the time, now husband, going on 19 years. So it was really a challenge for me. At the time, I was into the insurance and financial services industry. So I was starting my own independent insurance agency and just didn't know where to go to really get started and where to find the resources and the networks. And that is where the idea came for Michigan Association for Female Entrepreneurs. Now, there is a lot of great organizations for women across the Detroit metro area and across Michigan. But what I found is that there was not an organization that really catered to the needs of someone like myself who was just starting out, who was aspiring to be an entrepreneur, and who was just getting her business just really opened up. And so that is where that came about. I wanted to bring together other female entrepreneurs who, like me, was starting a business or had an idea for a business and just needed that support system and needed that network, and just starting a group of small women where we could just come together and we can share ideas and resources and help each other. And it just really blossomed into so much more. The organization, Michigan Association for Female Entrepreneurs, was founded in 2003. And since then, through the organization, I have impacted the lives of nearly 2,000 women across Michigan in helping them in starting their businesses, growing their business, and taking their business global, which is my business and my passion now. So after the recession, 2008, 2009 is when I really transitioned out of the insurance industry and wanted to do something different. Went back to school for my MBA in international business. There is where I really had this big eye opener, and I took a study abroad to China, and that trip just really changed my life. And it really let me know that we was living in a much bigger world than I had ever known or could ever imagine. And that is where that passion for the international business space came about. And I started my international consultancy, and I've been working with small businesses, entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs all across the globe, and helping them take their ideas and their products and their brands and their businesses to countries around the world. So that's just a little bit about me. I don't know how much time I have, but I'm happy to share more.
Thank you for sharing that. I love it. What about you, Dr. Jonas? Can you share your story?
Yes, I'm Dr. Jonas Gadsden, DTM, known as Mr. Enthusiastic. I started off a number of years ago. I was born and raised in South Carolina, and I moved up right after I graduated from high school, moved up to Rochester, New York. I never even seen snow. I was talking about in my one of my book. I was talking about in South Carolina. We were dreaming about a white Christmas. I went to Rochester, New York, and that dream turned into a nightmare. So, and of course, moving up to Rochester with a Southern accent and all of those great things. But I immediately got a job. I had a training program. I had a sister that was living up there, got a job at Xerox, a training program. So they hired me right away. And I worked there for 3.5 years, and then with the Eastman Kodak for 27 and a half years, a total of 30 years, where as she already mentioned, trained over 8,000 employees from 69 different country. Also, when I pivot from, I took an early retirement from Eastman Kodak, moved back to South Carolina. That's where I'm at right now. My mom took ill, and so she was my marvelous mother, and so I came back home and took care of her around the clock until she passed away in 2008. And so this is where I'm living at right now. Also, I have my own company, Partners for Purposeful Living, and that's what I'm building now. And of course, you mentioned the books that I'm in, and I'm so privileged to be on this great program. And also, a part of my work is with a lot of women. In fact, the book that I Am a Victor that just came out, it was 43 of us. I was the only guy. And we made the best-selling list. But what I made up in my mind is that although I speak all across the country and international, I made up in my mind that beginning of this challenges, I wanted to uh, build some more collaborative or connection with other people. Because what I've learned that if you're the smartest person in your group, you need to find a new group. So when the opportunity came with all the women, I joined into the group. And by the way, with these three brand new books, all of it was done during the difficult time with the virus, and all of them make the best selling list, and all of them also was done virtually. I probably have met a good 15 to 2,000 different women and men since this virus, and I've never met any of them in person. I was able to do all this on Zoom and talking to people all the
Yes.
way in London, England, on Zoom. One of my colleagues just had a big conference with the diversity, and she had 6 of the 7 continents right there, and I'm speaking to
Wow.
people from all over the world. And of course, I'll stop there. That's just a little bit about me, and of course, I know I'll be saying some things later. But it's a privilege and a pleasure. Congratulations on your Regina, on your podcast, and these great women. I'm just so glad to be in the midst. I mean, I don't mind. I hope Miss Tanya don't mind me calling her Tanya, man. She done knocked it out of the park, and I'm
I
afraid.
know.
I'm getting out of the way so Donna can come. But I'm so glad. Let me tell you this quick story that's applicable for here. This guy entered his mule in the Kentucky Derby, and everybody was telling him, "Man, there's no way you can win in your mule in the Kentucky Derby." He said, "I know that I can't win in the Kentucky Derby being a mule, but think of the company that I'm running with." And when you're running with thoroughbred, it make a mule like me run just a little bit better.
All right, all right. I love that story. That's awesome. I got to steal that one. All right, all right. Donna, just one second. I just want to say hi to we have a Facebook user. We have a couple of people who are looking right now, and hopefully throughout the day they will chime in and review what we have said, because this is powerful. I do want to invite guests to make comments as we go along here and ask questions. You can definitely put in the chat. If you just seeing Facebook user, please go to streamyard.com/Facebook, and for we can see your name, or at least tell us your name. You can put that in the chat. So please, Donna, share your story with us.
Thank you, Regina, for the opportunity to be with these illustrious people that also have a global connection, and to find out that we all have some very similar paths. So I've actually come full circle from being born and raised in Illinois to spending most of my life in Tacoma, Washington, moving to the East Coast to New York, and then coming back to Chicago in 2001. So full circle. And similar to what Tanya mentioned, I did have some years in financial services. And in fact, that's where I make money now. That's where the seed comes from, is financial services. But what brings me to the show today is the Dorcas Destiny International organization that I founded just 4 years ago this month, actually. So we provide services to women and children in Kenya, East Africa. And one of the things that people have asked me is, how in the world did you end up in Kenya? Well, long story short, I met a gentleman in Toronto in May 2016 who asked me if I would support the school that he founded in his village. And I checked in with the Holy Spirit real quickly and said, yes, I will. And then later on that evening, went to my room and said, what in the world did I disagree to? And 4 years later, we are providing services to about 500 children. We're working with 2 schools and 2 slums in Nairobi, a big village of 3,000 people in rural Kenya. And we're about to make my 6th trip over to the country the end of this month. So it's been a pretty interesting adventure, to say the least.
Yes, you kind of was going out, Donna, but we did get to hear your ending. That has been a pretty adventure for you, to say the least. But I don't know why it went out a little. But what I wanted to do is just ask each one of you, you have your talents, your gifts. How did you finally tap into that and get on the road of your purpose? How did you finally begin to tap into that? I have heard you say, Tanya, it was based on the fact of not really seeing women needs met. I heard you say that. And then even Donna mentioning the gentleman having a need and approaching her. But how did you begin to tap in to your gifts? And same way with you, Dr. Jonas, you spoken all over. How did you know? I mean, you wasn't, were you always a trainer? And there are many gifts that we possess, right? So how did you guys begin to tap into your gifts and move into your purpose? And I'll start with you, Donna.
I think for me, I've always kind of gone with the subtle movements of what feels comfortable, but then also with the edge of a challenge. We all have gifts and talents, as you mentioned, and some of those things become very easy to us and we're comfortable with them. And that's how I've always started everything from a career standpoint. And then also at the same time, being open to a challenge and something different, which is how I've ended up living from one coast to the other and back again. So just, kind of following what's there, saying yes and learning to say no also, because sometimes I think when we look at talents and gifts and skills, it's easier to say no than it is to say yes, because I know I can do this, but that I'm not going to move into that realm.
Yeah, and even you talking about so I want to do a follow-up question. Even you talking about becoming a part of the school. I know you have higher education training. However, that was something big to take on. So you said, well, I checked in with the Holy Spirit and I said yes. Was it such an easy yes for you to take on? Because this is massive.
Yeah, it actually was an easy yes. But I didn't know what that yes was going to entail at the time, because having been in executive leadership, I have run nonprofit organizations, I've run departments, but to start one is a whole nother matter. So that's been the biggest challenge, is beginning it, growing it, and then now getting to the place where we're going into phase 2 and phase 3.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on 4 years too.
Thank you.
Yes. Tanya, what about you? Tapping into your gifts and talents.
For me, I didn't have a clue, right? So totally everything that I ended up doing was not planned. It was not something that I said, oh, I'm going to set out and I'm going to go into insurance or I'm going to go into consulting. But what I learned through this process is that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I just didn't know it at the time. And so when things started happening to me, I was looking at those things as a setback. So when I first, and I shortened my introduction up really, really short, but when I first moved to Detroit from Chicago, I first was working in a bank. Well, I got laid off from the bank. So okay. I'm like, oh my goodness, that is a huge setback. But no, that set me up for something greater, because I went into business for myself. And that's when I started my insurance agency. And that came because I had met a gentleman who was into insurance, and he recruited me, and I was working under him, and I was thinking I could do this myself. And so when I was laid off from the bank, that gave me that space to do that. But then you'll get these little, these things that happen that kind of makes you question what you're supposed to do. So right after I decided that I was going into business for myself, I was going to set up my own insurance agency, I had received an offer from another bank. And so I had the opportunity to go and work for a bank, make some guaranteed income, because we all know as entrepreneurs, you don't know when your next paycheck is going to come or if it's going to come, right? So I had the opportunity to go back and work for a bank and have a guaranteed income. And so that was that challenge. I said, oh, okay, now, I have to really decide what I want to do. So I accepted the offer at the bank. Okay. And for some reason that I can't even explain, these things happen to us because it's where we're supposed to be. It just didn't sit well with me. And I thought about it, all that day and that night, I thought about it. And then I talked to my husband about it. And I just went with my gut, and I went with my heart, and I went out on a limb, and I called back the next day and I said, unfortunately, I'm going to have to decline that offer. And I kept on my journey of going into business for myself and setting up my insurance agency. So again, we had the financial crisis in 2008, another setback. So I thought it was a setback, because now I'm losing my customers. Insurance policies are lapsing every minute of the day. And Donna, you're in insurance, so you know what that's like. Those policies was lapsing, and it was just like really bad for business. And so I looked at that as a setback. Again, it was a setup for something greater, because that pushed me into where I am today, which is totally my passion in business. But I did not know that at the time. So honestly, I can't, it was just everything was happening for a reason. And a lot of times these things happen and we don't understand it at the time. You just have to trust in God, trust in that journey. And where you end up is where you're supposed to be. It may not be the path you initially set out on, but where you end up is where you're supposed to be. And so that's when I knew that I was in the right place. I enjoy what I do. I love traveling. I love meeting people. I love working with entrepreneurs and small businesses. So I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and to know that I'm making an impact. So it's not just about me. It's not just about making money or doing what I love, but to know that what I am doing is truly benefiting other people and it's making an impact. That's what makes me happy. So that's how I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be, and this is my passion.
That's powerful. And I like the fact that you said, because oftentimes it's like we have to know our gifts and talents. So we have to know our purpose. And I was listening to a speaker the other day about no, don't follow your passion. And that's what really made me tune into her, because her whole point was there are many things that we can know how to do, and we may not know our passion. It may take a minute. So in you're finding your journey by just sticking to what you believe was your path. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing that. Dr. Jonas, what would you say about your gifts and talents, and how did you figure out that this was your purpose and the road that you were supposed to travel?
Well, one of the things that I found out when I was younger, I just had a dream that I was going to travel around the world and wear a lot of suits and all of that. I didn't know how it was going to come to fruition, particularly being born in the deep South on the plantation, and then as I start moving up to Rochester, New York, and I start focusing more, and I'm a faith person, and so my speaking was born in the church. So a number of years ago, I was speaking, and the crowd was just really riveting, and all of those stuff, and everybody was coming and said, "Oh, that's a good job. He did a great job." And I said, one lady came to me and she was very enthusiastic and she was shaking my hand. And she said, "I said, you know what? I need to go back to school." She said to me, "Oh no, you don't have to go back to school. You don't need any more education." I didn't say anything to her, but in my mind, and I was still standing in front of her, I said, she said, "Oh, you are good enough." I said in my mind, "I am good enough if this is my destination. But where I'm going, good enough is not good enough." And then later on, as I continued to work on, I didn't start at being a corporate top guy. I started at the bottom and worked my way up, explored all kinds of different challenges toward help raise money for organization. And then I was already in Toastmasters. I was already working on myself. So when it came to opportunity, they needed someone to train the whole division. They recommended me because I was prepared. And one of my bonuses, better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. And so now when you talk about your gift, one of my favorite scriptures said, your gift will make room for you. So, and when I'm touching all the people and traveling and speaking and doing what my gift said and what I love, I also understand it's not about me, boo. It's not about me. It's about the gift that was given me. And as long as you develop that gift, the scripture says will take you in front of kings. And so now when I'm in my purpose, and I love it. My 4 pillars when I'm speaking is education, inspiration, transformation, and then motivation in that order. Some people say, "I just need more motivation." Well, if you're heading in the wrong direction, you don't need motivation. You need education. So it's education, then it's inspiration, then it's transformation. Because I don't care how many legs a caterpillar has and how fast he can run, he can never fly until he's transformed into a butterfly. My favorite book said you can be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You're going to have a checkup from the neck up, and then you're ready to be motivated.
All right, Mr. Enthusiastic. All right now. All right. And just piggybacking on what you said, allowing your faith to lead you, having that dream that God placed in your mind, in your heart, and following that, believing in that dream. Dr. Jonas, I had a similar experience that I was going to be speaking all over the world. I couldn't see me, but I can see me speaking, but I couldn't see I couldn't really see me on the stage or anything, but I can sense me speaking. And so to know that God works in that order, because sometimes, Dr. Jonas, people say, well, I don't know what I've been called to do, or God is not talking to me. Can you speak a little to that, for people to understand that God is moving in our lives? What would you say to a person who's struggling with that?
Well, the first thing I would say is that because sometimes we feel unworthy and sometimes we feel that we're not qualified. But the great news is you're not called because you're qualified. You answer the call and then you're qualified afterward. And
All
so
right.
there's nearly 8 billion people on the planet. There's not another one just like you. My favorite book said, "You are fearfully and wonderfully made by the Creator." And you know what I've learned in life? When you change your language, you can transform your life. I used to say a lot of things happen to me, but now I have changed my language. It didn't happen to me, it happened for me. That what made me the kind of man that I am. Everything that you went through. Sometimes people call you up and they're in my introduction, they say, well, this is the most important thing of all of the things that Dr. Gatson have done. This is the most important thing. I let them say that, but I correct them. Everything that happened to me is important. And when I come to tell my story, because my story happened to me, but it didn't happen for me, to lift somebody else. And we have the gift, a word. The Bible also says life and death is in your tongue. And
Yeah.
right now, this is the time to lift people up, to help them to live their dreams, their goals, and their aspirations. This is our time, and this is our turn. This is the decade for the doers. And get it done, bonus from Jonas, get it done in 2021.
All right, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you, amen. We're here, Dr. Jonas had taken us to church. And so, Donna, I want to ask you now. You talked about the challenges because you're being executive director and helping nonprofit organizations to start up. And that was not easy. But now you in your own nonprofit organization. What have been some of the adversities and challenges along the way for you?
Well, the first challenge I think was my own, in terms of my founding board of directors. They were people that I love dearly and who love me dearly, but they were a little overcommitted in their own lives. So because of that, they were not able to give me the time that I needed to do the work. So I ended up being a one-person show.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty difficult because there was a lot of work and still is a lot of work to be done. But I take full responsibility for that, because that was, as a leader, you have to be responsible for the decisions you've made. So that was the one thing. The second thing was, let me say one of the things that I did correctly, and that was not to overcommit. Because even though my friend asked me to sponsor and support his school, I was very cautious and careful to not say, oh, yes, we're going to be able to provide, X amount of services, X amount of dollars, and so forth. I was very clear with him that I did not want to make a promise I could not keep. And unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I really wasn't able to keep many promises until 2019. Because we were founded in 2017 and did minimal services up to that point. But in 2019, God began to show up in a different way. And I just continued to tell the story and continued to tell people what I was doing. And part of the adversity and the difficulty was that even though I was asking people for support, it was as if I was asking people to support me. Because like they say, the ones that you think will, won't, and the ones you think won't, will. That was the way it happened. And I have a very good friend and coworker now who heard me talking about DDI, Dorcas Destiny International. And she said, I don't know what it is, but I know it's important to you. And she handed me $100. And she did that religiously for about a year. Every time we encountered each other, she would give me $100. and without even knowing what it was, when some of the people who were closest to me didn't provide that level of support. So that was disappointing. But to Dr. Jonas's point, in terms of staying committed to the vision and seeking the Lord and saying, okay, God, if people won't, give it to me so I can do it. And that's what he was faithful enough to do, because like, the other question that you asked about, how do you know when it's right? How do you know when it's time to move forward in something? I believe when the scripture says that God gives you the desires of your heart, I think that he gives you the thing to desire so he can give it to you. But then at the same time, a lot of people, they have a desire, they have a wish, they have a need or something, but they don't move out. They sit and they wait. But you have to put action to your faith. You have to do something. So that was one of the things that I continued to do. I could have just ignored, the fact that people weren't helping me with DDI, and I could have stopped, but I committed to do it and I continued, and God has shown himself faithful. And now we are at that next level from 2019 to 2020 to 2021.
That is awesome, Donna, because when you really think about it, it is easy to give up on your dreams. Tanya mentioned setbacks. She said that she saw these things as a setback, and people can get stuck in the setbacks. And so, Tanya, just coming to you and dealing with the adversities and dealing with setbacks, what is it that you would say to women who are stuck in those setbacks? Because people do get stuck in setbacks.
Yeah, I would just say to those women to just get out of their way, because a lot of times it's us that's keeping us from moving to that next level. And we can sit and we can blame it on all these different things. But when you really look at it, it's really you and the decisions that you make and the actions that you decide to take or not take. And so for me, it was really getting out of my way. It was really about stepping outside of my comfort zone, which I've been doing a lot lately. I'm a female in a male-dominated industry. So I'm traveling to countries around the world by myself as a young Black female representing a company. There were so many different adversities that I had to overcome, and just that alone, being a young Black female running a company in a male-dominated industry. And a lot of that was really getting in my head. Oh, I'm not going to get this contract. I'm too small of a business. Oh, I'm a woman. All of these things was getting in my way. And I wasn't going after a lot of opportunities because of the negative thoughts that was in my own head. So I had to get out of my way, and I would tell others to get out of their way. And a lot of times you have these setbacks and you get stuck, but there's a quote that I remember, and we all fall down. Everybody trip and you fall. That is by accident, but you staying down is by choice. You can either stay down or you can get up and you can move on to the next big thing. And don't look at your setbacks as a setback or as a failure. Look at it as a learning experience and learn from that to move forward, to go to that next level. All of those failures and setbacks, it's going to make you a much stronger and a much more successful person in the long run, because I've never learned anything from my successes. I've learned the most from my failures. And that is what I would tell anyone else in business, male or female.
That's powerful, because we do learn from our trips, right? We do learn from our failures, and we live in a society really that don't encourage us to learn that way. It's like when you're failing or when things are going on in your life, something must be wrong with you. And let me just see the comment real quick. We have a comment. Oh, here I have Sheree. She says, very powerful. Thank you so much, Sheree, for joining. So, Dr. Jonas, what I wanted to ask you, because we are in a male-dominated world, a lot of times when women are stepping out, and they can have difficulty embracing themselves, and also being a African American male yourself. So there have been roadblocks even for you. What are some things that you can share to women as well as men, but to women, in terms of not getting caught up in those roadblocks?
Well, what I would encourage, there's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy without can do us no harm. And there's another African proverb that said, if you want to go fast, then go by yourself. But if you want to go far, get you a coach. And so some of the challenges, and Ms. Tanya just said it, some of the challenges we have to overcome ourselves, because we are tackling and blocking ourselves, and our stinking thinking is holding us back. So you need a coach. You need someone that been where you're going. Some people say, well, it's a glass ceiling. Well, I want to know, where are you as it relates to the glass ceiling? Well, I'm all the way down to the floor. Then don't tell me about the glass ceiling. You need to get higher. And if it's a glass ceiling, you can see what's on the other side. So you have to want it bad enough, and you have to be hungry enough. And you got here's what I tell everybody: you got to be hungry. But here's what I tell everybody: whether you're male or female, willing to work harder on yourself than you work on anybody else's job. Now, let me just say this to you. Yes, I've been in this industry now and teaching for about 48 years. But the thing is, though, I have invested over $100,000 in me. Someone said to me the other day, said, "Oh, Dr. Gatson, are you working hard on yourself to get somebody?" I said, "No, I'm working hard on myself so I can be somebody. I want to be the best that God intended me to do." So if you work hard and you got your dreams, your goals, and your aspiration, you don't listen. Sometimes you got to cheer your own self up. You know, you got to build your own self up. And by the way, and the vision was given to you. Let your family love you, but the vision wasn't given to them. It wasn't given to someone else. You know why it wasn't given to somebody else? God didn't trust them. But he trusts you. He knew what you had to get the job done. Okay, so again, this is your time and this is your turn. Don't use the pigment. I went through all kinds of racism in a dominant corporate America. And they were telling me what I couldn't do. But I know what my calling was. I know what my purpose was. And let me tell you something. And when you start working towards your goal, then people, the universe will send help. But you know, what stops us a lot of time, as I said earlier, we stop ourselves. And sometimes I tell people, sometimes you're going to make 3 steps forward and 2 back. But don't worry about the 2 back. You still are 1 step ahead of things. And if you knock me down, I'm going to try my best on my way down to fall forward, closer to my goal in the first place.
Yes. Thank you for that, Dr. Jonas. Here's Sheree again. She said, yes, invest in yourself, which really, this question can be answered by any of you. Invest in yourself. Tanya and I have had this discussion. Oh, I think we lost Donna. I'm going to trust that she'll be back. Tanya had mentioned that about investing. I'm sorry, Dr. Jonas mentioned about investing in yourself. But Tanya had mentioned about women getting in their own way, right? And what I have found, and either one of you can answer this, I have found that that's the biggest struggle sometimes. People really understanding that they need to invest in themselves. But then the flip side of that, Dr. Jonas and Tanya, is that we as entrepreneurs feel pushed to ask a price below what we know that we're worth, because we know the investments we have put into our business, into our development, and all of that. What would you say to women who's struggling with charging the price that they really deserve to charge, and not dumbing down constantly because people don't want to invest in themselves? What would you say to that?
Yes, I love it. So as an entrepreneur, we must invest in ourselves. We must invest in our self-development, our growth, and our learning, knowledge. There's no way you're going to succeed as an entrepreneur if you're not investing in yourself. And what I find so troubling is that we can invest in everything else. We can take those trips to Cancun with our girlfriends, and we can go get our hair and our nails done. We can do all these other things. But when it comes time for you to pay for a business seminar, workshop, or to hire a coach or a consultant, somebody that can help you grow and take your business to the next level, we have a problem with that. We have a problem with that. Then on the flip side of that, you have entrepreneurs who are not charging their worth, because you have these people who don't want to pay. They don't want to pay, your worth, because they don't want to invest in their business. If you're a coach and you set your price and they say, well, that's too much, that's not your ideal client. You want to work with someone they understand the value of what you offer, and you too must understand your worth and the value of what you have to bring. So it works in both ways, right? So if that person does not want to pay your price, that's not your ideal customer. You go to the next customer. Don't dumb down your price. Don't dumb down your knowledge and your expertise and all the time and money and energy that you put into that business because that person don't want to invest in themselves. Know your worth, charge your worth. That's what I would say to that. And I'm very passionate about that, Regina, you know.
Yes. Know your worth and charge your worth. Dr. Jonas, I'll let you follow up as well, because I really want to know your thoughts on that.
Well, Tanya did an excellent job. It starts with knowing your worth, and if you know your worth, and again, what I usually say, if you work harder, if you know your worth, you'll do the work. Because number one, as she already said, first of all, you got to know your audience. If you're in audience and you're not being paid your worth, number one, you don't worth anything because you ain't paid nothing to invest in yourself. You can't ask someone to pay $2,000 in something that you sell when you never spent $2,000 on you. When you arrive, you don't arrive. You're not dressed right. You're not got yourself together. You're not driving, good. But if you're asking somebody to do something that you never have done, you never invest in yourself, you never read the books, you never went to. Right now we are doing a huge conference. This is probably going to cost us $100,000 to put it on, all of us that's involved, that we are in it. But now what we are inviting everybody, because let me tell you something. I've learned in life that you can do two things. You can either curse the darkness or turn the light on. And right now we're in a dark place, negativity. So we want to turn the light on. But here's what I know, even though we have invited thousands of people and all that, but you know what? The people who really need it, they're not coming. So we're not looking for the people who need it. We are looking for the people who want it. Because if you want it, like right now, I'm learning from all of these great women here, and they're mentioning some stuff that I need to learn. So I'm going to be calling them up and say, hey, I need to go to the next level. But if you're going to go to the next level, you have to deal with more devils.
All right. And I just want a quick follow-up to that, because I know myself, I'm highly educated. I have an MBA, and then I went on to get a postgraduate degree. I studied in France. And so, for people that don't want to pay, and I'm just going to throw numbers out there, you don't want to pay, say $100 an hour. That's not my rate, but I'm just saying, you don't want to pay $100 an hour for expertise. Well, go and pay $100,000 and get the knowledge and get the certifications and get that person has paid into and invested in. Or you could pay the $100 to learn what they know, that they've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that knowledge and that education. It just, that's always been something I've had a challenge with, is people not understanding what you have put into knowing what you know. Like you said, attending conferences and seminars and certifications and master classes and master degrees and MBAs, hundreds of thousands of dollars that you paid into that, and they can't pay $100 to learn what you learned. So that's something we have to work on as entrepreneurs.
Very good. What, Donna, did you want to add anything to that question that I asked about when women can dumb down their prices, they can not charge, or then they don't even want to pay to get the learning that they need. And so that's what they were speaking to. I know there was a little drop, so I just wanted to bring you up to date.
Thank you. Now, one of the things my husband and I used to do, we used to work with a marketing coach, because my husband's an accountant and we have done some things in small business, and he still does to this day. And one of the things our marketing coach told us, which is, I forgot if it was either Dr. Jonas or Tanya, that said, every client is not your client. And the fact is, everyone needs to know who their niche market person is. You can't serve everybody in the county. Maybe within the county, there's a certain profile of person that will pay what you are worth. Because one of the things that we want to look at is, if something is cheaper, it's cheaper for a purpose. It's cheaper for a reason. So if you know who your niche market is and you market to that specific niche market, you will attract each other, just like a magnet to metal.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Magnet to metal. That's wonderful. I hope the audience is really taking this, in, because this is so true. And oftentimes women can feel, not all women, so let me say that, some women can feel really uncomfortable with charging or paying or not really understanding what it takes to develop. And so the next question that I want to ask, because each one of you have hit on it, how, and this may sound like a similar question, but I'm dealing with the fact that you stayed focused on the journey. You stayed in it. That meant that you stayed focused on the investment. Tanya, not only everything that you named, but people have also joined organizations like your organization. So there's much investment that has to go on. But how do you stay the course when monies are not coming through? I mean, just tell somebody.
Yeah, that's you asked, how do you know when you found your passion? Mm-hmm. That's it right there. When you start making money and you still doing what you do, that's your passion. That's when you know you have found your passion. When you continue doing what you do and not getting paid for it, you have found your passion. So if you're doing something and that money stopped and you run on to the next thing, you was just a hustler. But if you stay with it, that's your passion. So I just stayed with it. It was really, like I said, I really love what I do. I have my ups and I have my downs. And with COVID, I'm sure we've all experienced a lot of downs this past year. But it's truly my passion. And again, what keeps me going is knowing that I'm impacting lives. I'm helping companies. I'm helping entrepreneurs. And as long as I touch one person, my work is done. I'm happy with that. And it just really keeps me going. And that's really what it is. It's just my passion. I love helping people. And when you opened up, you said that I was your mentor. That right there, that is what keeps me going, Regina. Just knowing that I'm a mentor to somebody, that people are really looking up to me and they're turning to me for advice and guidance. That is what keeps me going.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that. Donna, what would you say to the question?
I would say it's something very, very similar
Oh,
to
Donna, you're breaking
that.
up. I don't know.
You
Okay,
know,
you're breaking up. We didn't get to hear you.
I I look at what I've been able to allow God to do through me with Dorcas Destiny International.
Here, we can't hear her. Dr. Jonas, can you take that question for me? And then I'm going to try to add her back to the stream because I couldn't hear
Okay, okay.
For
Yeah, when you're in your purpose, when you're in your
example,
purpose, your purpose will pull you. First, you identify your purpose, you pursue your purpose, and then when your purpose take over you, your purpose will
should I
pull
stop?
you because you're doing what you love, and when you're doing
Should I
what you
keep going?
love, uh, you can do it. You can do it without anytime you wake up at night. You can do it because you're in your purpose, and that's very critical that we find the purpose. And sometimes we're not going to be able to find it without a coach. One of the things I do, I coach in communication is one thing. The scriptures are focused on one thing. Sometimes we are
you.
spread too thin. So I teach people don't go so wide. Make sure you go deep first because your dream is not going to live on wideness. You got to have some depth. You got to be rooted and grounded, and it has to be in you. And you have to be fired up and ready to go. And this is the best time to do that. And that'll pull you. That will keep you going. That gives people hope. And that's what, just like Tanya just said. So many people I have helped. So many people I have coached. That. And by the way, all of us has an assignment. Bonus from Jonas. We need to get in alignment with our assignment. Stop telling yourself that all 8 billion people on the planet is your potential customer. They are not. Everybody. Who is this good for? Everybody. No, it's not good for everybody. And it's not even good for you when you got that kind of language. You got to zero it down, and you have to be the product. Yeah,
All right.
you have to be the product. When you walk in there, you have to represent that I am product. I'm here. I got something to say.
Thank
Now I
you.
will say this real quick. This is one
Okay.
of my motto. Everybody, all audience, bring me joy. Now, some audience bring me joy when they come in the room. Others bring me joy when they leave the room. But nevertheless, they bring me joy.
All right. All right. Thank you, Dr. Jonas. And Donna, I just want to recircle to you because we couldn't hear you. It's breaking up a little. And we did, so you can make a comment. I have about 1 minute to allow you guys, and then I want to make sure that we can tell people how to get in touch with you.
I just echo what both Tanya and Dr. Jonas said, that your passion will pull you and that you do have to get into something that you will continue to do, whether you get paid or not.
Yes, that's beautiful. I appreciate you, 3 wonderful speakers. This has been so enlightening. And again, I hope that people would take the opportunity to listen because this is truly all about growth. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules, for being with Exhale with Regina. We are moving people from pain to purpose. And I love what you said, Dr. Jonas and Tanya and Donna. People need us and we need people. So it's just a way it goes around. People need us and we need people. And that's the way we impact lives. So thank you. And I'm going to start with Donna. Donna, could you please tell people, and I will show too, on how they can get in touch with you?
People can find me on Facebook using my name, Donna Werner, and also at DorcasDestinyINTL.org.
Okay. And Donna, is the V in your name when they look for you on Facebook? Or it's just
Yes.
Donna Warren. Okay, so they need that V as well. Okay. All right,
Yes.
good. Okay. And Dr. Jonas, can you tell people how to get in touch with you?
Yes, you can go to www.jonasbonus.com for a free gift. I'm also on LinkedIn or any of the social media. All you got to do put Jonas with the bonus, and you'll find out more than you want to know about me. But it's great. Congratulations. It was great to be on your broadcast with these extraordinary women.
Yes, thank you. And then Tanya, please share how the women can get in touch with you.
Yes, you can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter via my name, Tanya McNeil Weary. You can also go to my personal blog website, which is www.tanyamcneilweary.com. And also don't forget to go to Amazon to pick up my new book, Women Going Global, which shares real life stories of women entrepreneurs just like you who have overcome the odds, the challenges, the biases, and everything you could imagine. And they are rocking it in the international business world. So pick up this book and learn more. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. So I want to thank you guys. We are now out of time. Thank you, audience, for joining and being a part of Exhale with Regina, helping women to move from pain to purpose, getting through their challenges and adversities, and helping them to see themselves. God bless you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye.